Welcome into the Daily Deep Cut, brought to you by the Beat Sessions. I'm your host, Mitchell Weary. Sorry for coming at you guys a little late today, but I had to close my bar down last night. I didn't get home and to sleep until about 4 a.m., so I needed some rest. I needed a little time to put this piece together. Otherwise, probably would have been like yesterday. Yesterday, I was so tired. I don't know what was happening. Kept tripping over my words, kept mumbling a little bit. And it was not my finest performance, but thankfully we had a fun song to talk about. Talking about a little Led Zeppelin, 10 Years Gone. Today, we're talking about Pink Floyd's Fearless, an amazing song. And I will admit being a little self-indulgent with this one. We're going to get into that. But before we do that, please like this video, share it, subscribe to the channel, do all the things to help me blow this project up in 2025. And if you're new to the show, new to the channel, and you're not familiar with what's going on, Daily Deep Cut kind of explains itself. Pick a song every single day, discuss it, roll with it, and throw it on a few times. Throw it on repeat 3 or 4 times. I know that I'm not the only one who does this. Sometimes you get in those moods where something is just hitting so hard, and you got to listen to it maybe 2, 3, half a dozen times in a row. Sometimes it just happens. Sometimes you need to just roll with that, indulge yourself, and let it fly if you're feeling the mood. But if this is your first time in, the general idea throughout the week is that I do pick a theme, and this week's theme is classic rock, going back to the late 60s into the 70s with some of my favorite bands, and some songs that don't quite get the visibility that they should. Songs that, it's interesting growing up, and when I was born in 1984. I'm going to be 41 here in a couple of months. I talk about accessibility a lot on the channel and how with modern day streaming services, it's so easy to access just about anything. But back when I was growing up as a kid, simply 20, 25 years ago, you only had the physical mediums for the most part and radio. And radio, as we know, is just one big cyclical rut, playing the same damn stuff over and over and over again. So I will say the advent of these streaming services, it is great with regards to exposing people to more music and a broader range of music from bands like Pink Floyd, for example. They're a band that when I was getting into them back in high school, into college, it was all about the Roger Waters driven years. What was going on with Dark Side of the Moon, Wish You Were Here, The Wall, and Piper at the Gates of Dawn. Certainly being the band's debut. That was where I became familiarized with Syd Barrett. That was back in college. I had a good buddy of mine, Glenn Katzman, that let me borrow that CD, throw it on, and burned it into my computer. And that was my first exposure to early Floyd, actually. It wasn't until I was about 18 years old that I was actually listening to some of that early stuff. And loved that record. Love Syd Barrett and his influence. I do think ultimately, and it's wild too, because Fearless is a song that you still feel that Syd Barrett influence. I think this band never would have made it to where they are. They never would have, reached the height of their creativity had they maintained Barrett as the leader. But there's no denying the fact that he laid the foundation for these other 4 guys to move into the next decade and to be successful, to be one of the most influential prog rock acts of all time, if not the most. And this song, Fearless, it's aside from the musical influences, there's definitely the sentiment that's there when you look at the lyrics and when you think about these guys reflecting on that partnership, that friendship. I don't think from a friendship standpoint, I'm going to go ahead and pull these guys up here too. There they all are. Actually, that's I believe that is the Italian single, the cover, One of These Days being the only single released off of Meddle in 1971. But Fearless is the B-side. I lost my train of thought there. I pulled that image up and it lost my damn train of thought. But we'll get back to... Fearless is it's an interesting track as far as the use of audio tracks, of sound effects. It's something that Syd Barrett, his influence still being there, chose to utilize creatively while he was with the band there, those first 2 records. into the late 60s. But I feel like Roger Waters and David Gilmour took it to a different level, incorporating the sound of the cop into this song. And if you're not familiar with the cop is the greatest grandstand in all of world football. Liverpool, baby. And I appreciate Roger Waters, especially because he's an Arsenal fan. These guys, they're North London boys. So I know that Roger Waters, big Arsenal fan, but I do appreciate the fact that these guys recognized, the greatness of Liverpool's traditions as a club. You can hate the team all you want, but there's no denying the power of the traditions that Liverpool has. The Cop is one of those. Coming from Sion Cop, a hill that was taken back in the Boer War, and if you're not familiar with that, late 1800s, I believe it was like 1898 or 1899 to 1902, somewhere in that time frame roughly. My history's a little off on that one. But the Boer War, if you're familiar with British imperialism, that all took place down in South Africa, and there was a number of Liverpudlians that lost their lives in that battle. And so to honor their memory, the Cop is named after that hill, after the sacrifice that those men made. And that might even be the wrong term to use, because knowing your history and knowing the unorthodox methods of the British during that conflict, but I mean, we're talking about the empire. We're talking about the royals that forced these normal everyday men to do this, to put themselves in a situation that maybe tested their principles, but also, it's not the reason why. It's but to do or die. That's an old war slogan, and I know back then too, especially if you were going to dissent, if you were going to be a deserter, you were going to get shot. So it was either face the challenge ahead of you or get a bullet in the back. So to commend the bravery of these men, at the Battle of Sion Cop, Liverpool, the club, the great grandstand is named the Cop, and this song features the Cop singing "You'll Never Walk Alone." Jerry and the Pacemakers, they popularized the song, I should say, with their contemporary version of it, giving a sort of doo-wop feel to the track. But originally written by Rodgers and Hammerstein, the club adopted the song, and it's our trademark. And it's one of the things that between Steven Gerrard being my favorite player of all time and the camaraderie, the unity that we have as a fan base, Liverpool. I know I'm biased because I'm a fan, but we are the greatest football club in the world. It's not about records. It's not about championships, even though we have a ton of them. It's about the dynamic that is there. It's about the spirit, the elan, as the French like to say. And I just love that, given the themes of this track, and given, like I said, given the fact that Roger Waters is an Arsenal guy, it's appropriate, and I think it's a really cool use of that vocal track. Talking about Syd Barrett and his leadership, unfortunately reaching a place that it became just too easy for the band to make that decision. And now I'm getting my train of thought back, and I remember I was going to say, as from a professional standpoint, I know it was an easy decision. As friends of the man, though, I know it must have just broken these guys in half. It's the worst thing in the world to see someone that you care about fall off. And in a lot of ways, I think, there's debate about that too. Most of the stuff that I've read says that he slipped into a very frail mental state, and he just became difficult to work with. And so the other members of the band chose to part ways. But Syd Barrett, continued to do his thing very quietly until the end of his life in 2006. And I think we've all known people like this. I think we've all experienced this. But to a degree, and to the theme of the song, there's this idea of choosing one's own path, and sometimes that path is a lonely one. It's not always easy to and I'm going to step outside the Syd Barrett just to make a general example, step outside the Syd Barrett saga. But it's not always easy to pursue one's own path. And oftentimes in life, when we're going after our goals, when we're going after our dreams, that path requires moments of loneliness, or maybe it requires long periods of loneliness. And what I love about this song, what I love about my club, is that you'll never walk alone. In the spirit of that independence, in the spirit of being one of a kind, not just falling into the crowd. You'll never walk alone. There's all those other individuals out there that spiritually are with you. They're pursuing their own path. And it's important to remember that in the difficult times, when you're struggling, when you're facing doubt, when you're questioning whether or not you should have made the decisions that you've made to pursue set objectives, set dreams. Just know that there's lots of people out there like you that are in the same boat, and that you may not know them, you may not be able to converse with them, but they're there. And it's knowing that, and knowing that plenty of individuals have taken that path in life and have come out on the other side achieving their dreams, that should keep you going. And it's what keeps me going. It's one of the biggest things that keeps me driven on this channel. And it's what I love about this song, and why I'm glad we're talking about it. Fearless, third track off of Pink Floyd's sixth album, Meddle, released in 1971, following up Atom Heart Mother, and an interesting record. I feel like this is the album where you see Waters and Gilmour and the rest of the crew really start to find their identity. There is a level of kind of like a disjointed nature. There's not really the focus thematically and musically that albums like Dark Side of the Moon, Wish You Were Here, The Wall have. But you can see the pieces start to come together. You can see the potential there on this record, and I think it's one of the things that makes it so fascinating. I dig talking about Syd Barrett and his influence. There's the lyrical content. We'll get into that when I start running that down. But there's also the tuning of the acoustic guitar is done in open G. And while I think Gilmour is the one that ultimately recorded the track, the acoustic parts, I think Waters wrote it, and I'm positive. And if I'm wrong about this, because there's different things that I've seen in doing some research here. If I'm wrong about this, please call me out for it. I'd love to know more about this. But open G tuning is what is driving this song, and there's just such this light, beautiful feeling to this track, this lofty airiness, this sense of freedom, this sense of letting go in that pursuit that those melodies carry, that note carry. Like, that open G tuning is just, it's absolutely fantastic. And that's something that Syd Barrett showed Roger Waters. So I think, like I said, I think Gilmour recorded, but Syd Barrett showing Waters that, and Waters still using that. Still, a couple years after Barrett leaves the band, they're still utilizing his influence. They're still utilizing all the things that they learned from him, and moving forward. And I think that's it's exceptional. There's no denying, like I said, it was a difficult decision for them to make, but you can see them reflecting on his memory, on his contributions. And I love that about this song. Get these layers of just beautiful acoustic guitar that collide all over the place. And going back to the chant, there's moments throughout the song where it works in, and then the coda really sees the cop choir come in and do their thing. But I remember I remember working at P.F. Chang's years ago, and the whatever corporate DJ that we had to put together the list. Just remember being at work one day, and those guitars, they hit the speakers, and I'm like, oh man, like, that is incredible. Like, I love that they are playing this song. I was like in the middle of some like Saturday night dinner rush, and I'm all excited, like distracted at my tables, not even paying attention, because it's just such a beautiful song, and the fact that our DJ chose to throw that into the mix amongst many other garbage contemporary tracks just surprised the hell out of me, but also made me super happy. And then I remember thinking, oh man, when we get to the end of this song, I don't know what the restaurant's gonna think. I don't know what anybody's gonna think. And I just remember so many of my coworkers. There was a couple of Pink Floyd fans that I worked with, and they knew. But everybody else I worked with, and younger people too, especially. I think I was like 26, 27 at this point. And so, kids in their, 20, 21, they have no idea what they're even hearing. And then that chant comes on and everybody's like, dude, what in the hell are we listening to? And I'm just laughing my ass off because, I didn't really have the time to explain it. It wasn't really the place or the moment. The explanation came with beers afterwards. Our favorite dive bar, Danny's Barbecue, is where we used to go and drink after work. We'd go there and we'd go to this place called, Old Chicago was a corporation. They were all over the place until they closed down. But between those two spots, the conversations were had, post-work conversations, lots of good memories with lots of good people. Shout out to all of you. If any of you are seeing this and watching this, you know who you are. You know I love you all, and you know I appreciate you. But yeah, the explanation came, and being such a massive Liverpool fan and having actually been to the Cop maybe 5 years prior to that, seeing a Liverpool match while I was living over in Ireland, making the pilgrimage, flying over there and checking that out. One of my fondest memories, and just a wild time. Again, the energy, that feeling of being a part of something big. I love it. I love the dynamic that is there. I think that grandstand holds roughly about 28,000 people, something along those lines. So you talk about, being in the mix of a big crowd and blending there. It's hard to stand out. It's hard to, I guess, have your own identity when you're surrounded by, a bunch of people dressed in red. But it's interesting that while in that sea of fans, there's still the idea of being your own self, of standing out, of being brave. The individual, but how the individual also can be part of something bigger, even if there isn't necessarily like a focused group identity. So it's I love reflecting on it, and I love the memories that are there, and I want to get into the lyrics of this song so that we can discuss further some of the thematic elements of here. You say the hill's too steep to climb, chiding. You say you'd like to see me try climbing. And this is where I love the incorporation of the Cop choir singing You'll Never Walk Alone, the allusion to the hill, the allusion to Scion Cop, which Spy Hill is what that translates to. The idea of daring to be brave, and just the different thematic layers that are here with just those two opening lines. I think we've all been there. I think we've all looked up that hill and we've felt the dread, we've felt the doubt, and the contrast with the light, airy music is exceptional. I think the lyrics feel like the crowd around you and their negativity that they're projecting, the doubt that they project on you, while the music carries that uplifting feel of one's spirit, of ignoring the naysayers, the haters, the doubters. You pick the place and I'll choose the time is the next line. And I'll climb the hill in my own way. Just wait a while for the right day. And as I rise above the tree line and the clouds, I look down, hear the sounds of the things you said today. That's so powerful. I love those lyrics. Early on, I think it's some of Waters' best work, and it's songs like this, it's lyrics like this, where I think the guys realized that he was the de facto leader once Syd Barrett left. David Gilmour, certainly an exceptional singer. I mean, his voice makes the track, obviously, the vocal element that he brings to the table. But I think that dynamic, Waters writing, Gilmour singing, is something that worked so well for them for so many years. I dig the little bridge that hits the song halfway in between there, it mellows out, it becomes light. There's still lots of texture, lots of layer of acoustic guitar, but it takes a step back. It softens up and almost takes like an airy flight even more. It's almost kind of like it's letting go, and then you come back to earth with fearlessly the idiot faced the crowd, smiling. I love the turnaround on that. I love the idea of people looking at the individual cynically, as, you know, like, you're going to fail. There's no purpose to the pursuit of your dreams in this situation. It's ultimately just going to lead to your demise. And there's nothing more empowering, I feel, than looking at people that bring that kind of negativity and just saying, okay, it's just all right. And you just smile. It's like, we'll see. I'll see you at the top of that hill. You know, we just said it right before there. And so, fearlessly, the idiot faced the crowd, smiling. Merciless, the magistrate turns around, frowning. And who's the fool who wears the crown? Go down in your own way, and every day is the right day. I mean, wow, damn! Like, it's so laconic. It's one of my favorite things about this song. It's one of my favorite things about any of the greatest songs out there. You're saying so much, and you're saying multiple things. Like, there's so many different interpretations with those few lines. It's just so well done, so brilliant. You go down in your own way, and every day is the right day. Doing things on your own terms. Life is too short to acquiesce. It's something that I've been guilty of in my life numerous times. Pursuing things because I think they're the right thing to do, not because it's what I want to do, what I think will make me happy. And I think that's one of the toughest things to learn, one of the toughest lessons to learn as a younger person, the pursuit of what you think will serve you well versus what you want to do. And often I feel, you know, that gets meddled with. I will go there. And I feel like it was like a lot of the older adult influences in my life growing up. Not my parents. My parents are awesome, but more of the academic individuals, those influences there. There's a couple professors that stand out to me. John Ulrich is one of them. I don't know if he's still around, but that dude was incredible. That was the type of guy that, you know, you go down in your own way and every day is the right day. That's the kind of lesson that I feel he taught on a regular basis. That's the type of lesson that came up very often in the literature that he taught in the classes that I was in. And as you rise above the fear lines in his brow, you look down, hear the sound of the faces in the crowd. And, you know, it could be, it could be them cheering for you. It reminds me of the end of The Stranger. If you guys are familiar with Camus, it could be sounds of execration, as Camus writes. But either way, you're up there and they're down here, and it's the heart and soul, the effort and the bravery that it took to pursue that journey. And you're going to have both in that regard. It's you're going to have your haters, and you're going to have the people that admire you and who feel inspired by what you bring to the table with what you've done. It's just a beautiful dynamic, a beautiful song. And then that's when the cop really takes hold, and you can hear the crowd singing, walk on, with hope in your heart, and you'll never walk alone. I love it. I'm not singing the right melody there, but it's, you'll never walk alone, walk on with hope in your heart. And what I love too is at the very end with the production, they do let the Liverpool, like, you just hear the fans just chant Liverpool, Liverpool, Liverpool. And it's shocking to me. Like, I am a little surprised, but I think thematically, including the song, given the themes of the song, it's the rest of it makes sense. But seeing Waters actually incorporate the final part, that Liverpool chant in there, it brings a smile to my face, and I absolutely love it. This is it's an exceptional track. I think, nice light acoustic feel, big folk drive, but you can feel again the beginnings of that prime Pink Floyd era really starting to come to fruition with this arrangement and with the arrangement of songs like Echoes, One of These Days being an opening instrumental track, the band showing its potential with just what they bring to the table with their instruments without any type of vocal element there. And so a lot of powerful elements to this album Meddle that really set the stage for an incredible decade for this band. And it's unfortunate that this song does get overlooked the way that it does. I know when they were putting together Echoes, the greatest hits collection, that this song was there for consideration, but was ultimately rejected for the final run of tracks. And I think that that's unfortunate. I think that this song really highlights a number of just incredible elements as far as the band's potential, as far as the influence of Syd Barrett and the way that these guys still chose to recognize that despite removing him from the band. And I think ultimately, to finish this segment up, that's a part of life, is having to make difficult decisions knowing that they're for the best. And you can still look back, you can still reflect on those memories fondly. There doesn't have to be, and I mean, and there could be, I mean, knowing what the relationship is like between David Gilmour and Roger Waters now. I don't know if there was ever any type of peace made between these guys and Barrett, but I do know that that life is complicated and relationships bring up a big fuzzy gray area. Nothing's ever just black and white. There's always so many layers. There's always, so many different moments in time that lead us to where we're at. And, you look at the trajectory of things and how it goes down. And sometimes it's just out of our hands. Sometimes it's out of our control completely. And you have to accept and move on and learn. And that's what I feel is ultimately at the core of Fearless. Don't let your mistakes bog you down. Don't let your failures bog you down. Pursue your happiness. Pursue your dreams. Be fearless. And with that, you guys enjoy the rest of your day. I will be back later tonight with with some classic wax. We're gonna be talking about Spencer Davis Group. It's funny because we were talking about Ark of a Diver last week, and Steve Winwood is. I mean, I didn't really mean to do this, but it's a tough time of year. Not many bands. Like, December's a rough month, but for some reason the first week of January is very odd, and there's not a whole lot that comes out in this time period. But Spencer Davis Group is going to be there, and we'll be talking about their second record. And I look forward to doing that with you all. In the meantime, have a good Tuesday. We'll see you later.